Welcome back to another reading and correcting of A Wasteful Death. With me, Kindar, the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. Today we are doing Chapter 2. Trembor cursed and ran for the jackal. Hayden? Hayden! The canine edited for the cheetah, but Trembor intercepted the key. And intercepted him. Before he took more than 2 steps and threw him to the ground, Marlot entered a different number. What the fuck's going on? He yelled when the officer in charge answered. Why do I have a civilian at my crime scene? I thought the house had been secured. Don't you people know how to do your job? No, I don't want you to come get in. I want you to make sure no one else just walks in here. If I find anyone else here, I'm going to make sure your rating drops so low even a vagrant will be able to afford you. Am I making myself clear? Jerry did the call and glared at Trembor, who was grinning at him, and he on the jackal's chest. What? The lion couldn't reply immediately because he was now laughing. You're like threatening those poor folks way too much. One of these days, one of them is going to realize you can't actually do anything to them. What do you do then? I'm going to hunt them down and claim them no matter their rating. His tone was serious as he joined Trembor. The lion looked at the canine under him. Now, I'm going to let go of you and get up. You're going to remain exactly where you are. If you move even to scratch, I'm going to knock you unconscious and we'll question you in the hospital. Understand? The canine nodded weakly. Can you comment on my threats? Marlot asked with a chuckle. At least I can carry through with mine. Trembor stood. Marlot rolled his eyes and extended a hand to the jackal. Come on. Let me help you up. Don't worry about the maned pussycat here. He's not going to touch a strand of fur on your body. The canine looked skeptical. He hesitated before reaching for the offered hand, watching for the lion's reaction. Marlot pulled him to his feet and sat him on the bench, where the body was out of sight. He smelled young, like the scent on the bed. He looked lost, now that he was no longer terrified. His gaze kept going from the floor to where the body was. Marlot was happy the wall was blocking his view. All Jack's go? Told Trembor over his shoulder. The lion nodded and took a few steps away. And stepped away. What's your name? Marlot asked the jackal. Talima, sir. Sounded a lot younger than he smelled. Marlot showed him his ID. I'm a registered investigator. My name is Marlot Blackclaw. I have to ask you some questions. Are you okay to answer them? Talima nodded. What are you doing here, Talima? The jackal hesitated for a moment. I sort of live here. Sort of? Marlot prodded when Talima didn't add more. Talima plastered his ears against his skull and his tail stuck to his leg, trying to get between them. The wolf sighed. I don't think you have anything to do with this, but if you don't answer my questions, I'm going to have to get the enforcers to take you in. Things won't be anywhere this comfortable if I have to do this at the station. Sorry, sir. His voice was barely above a whisper, and his eyes didn't leave the floor. It's all right. Let's try this again. What were you to Miss Spotted Fur? The jackal took a breath and let it out. I was her lover? Contracted? Marlot asked. Trembor shook his head. She's contracted with someone else. He lifted his head, surprised in his eyes. He did it! Who? Her contracted lover. She told me how controlling he was. He must have found out about me and did this to her. Marlot gave the young canine a moment to calm down. Do you know who he is? I never asked. I didn't want to pry. I was happy enough she wanted me over him. Do you know if the contract allowed her to have lovers on the side? Canine winced, then shook his head. But it must have, otherwise she wouldn't have done anything with me. She's a good person. Marlot studied the jackal for a moment. How old are you? 18, sir. Talima puffed his chest. Marlot stopped himself from smiling at the youthful display of pride. He looked from the jackal to the body and back. She was your first, wasn't she? The age difference, the fact she had a contracted lover, Marlot was familiar with the situation. Talima tried to keep his gaze on the wolf, but embarrassment made it look at the floor again. That was all the answer Marlot needed. He didn't show his reaction, but he felt sorry for this young canine. But maybe the situation was for the best. There was no avoiding that Telema would be traumatized by her death, but the trauma would be tempered by the belief he had been the love of her life. He wouldn't have to deal with being dumped as soon as he wasn't horny enough for her. You have a bag, pointed to it. Were you planning on staying here? Telema nodded. I'm at the academy for the week, and I come here on my rest days. Can I see your ID card? The jackal took it out of his pocket and handed it to Marlot. Unlike his own card, a muted gray, Telema's was bright red, identifying him as a student and therefore off-limit predation. At least you didn't have to worry about him disappearing during the investigation. He handed it back. I want you to go back to your dorm. You can't stay here. It's going to be a while until the house is cleared. Telema nodded and stood, looking a little dazed. Marlot placed a few bills in his hand. I want you to buy a wallet for your card. The type you can wear on your neck. Once you do, don't take it off, even while sleeping. Telema looked at him, eyes wide. Am I in danger? Marlot couldn't stop the small chuckle. Oh, the ignorance of youth. You're 18, Telema. You're of predation age. You look like an adult and you smell like one. The only thing keeping you safe off the academy ground is your student status. You need to take care of your card. It isn't because you're a predator that you're safe. Until you've learned how to defend yourself, you can end up as someone else's meal. Yes, you're going to be in trouble when they find out you're a student, but you're still going to be dead. Telema nodded and quickly backed away. Marlot didn't care if it scared him. He'd be better off for it, so long as he took care of his ID card. They were always losing too many young adults to carelessness. They were already losing too many young adults to carelessness as it was. The jackal looked at the money in his hand, a questioning look on his face for a moment. Stared at the money in his hand, a questioning look on his face for a moment. He probably hadn't handled physical money before. The government had introduced electronic currency a decade ago, and now it was the most common method. Only the older folks, or those like Marlot, who dealt with people in the gray areas of society, kept physical money going. The government kept pushing to eliminate physical money, claiming only criminals used it these days, but it never amounted to anything, especially since many people within the government were involved in criminal doing. Marlot didn't expect it to happen anytime soon. The worst Telema would have to deal with was the odd look he'd receive when he paid for his wallet with cash. A few moments after Telema left, a bright red frog came up the stairs carrying a portable gurney. Hey, Jaxka, Marlot greeted him. How's it going? He joined the frog next to the body, but kept his distance. You know me. I live the blessed life. The blessed life. Don't get cocky. Trembor's tone was sharp. One of these days, you're going to come across someone with taste for the exotic. Ritual set the gurney down next to the body. My rating keeps anyone but the rich from affording me. Took a plastic bag out of his jacket and folding it over the gurney and unzipped it. And who do you think have the weird taste? Marlot asked. Those who can afford them. He answered himself. He meant the warning. Even Marlot could make quick work of the frog if he wanted to. Only the poison Jaxka's skin secreted had kept him from considering the frog as the next meal the first time they met. Just be careful, okay? Trembor helped Jaxka place the body in the gurney. You don't want to have to start looking for another examiner. No one's going to measure up to you. The frog stood and looked up at the lion, the top of his head barely reaching the middle of Trembor's chest. Everyone measures up to me, and more. Jaxka bent down to zip the bag closed. Marlot gave him a wide berth. He didn't want to risk even a mild case of accidental poisoning. It wouldn't kill him, but it would lay him out for a few days. Jaxka stood. You two grab the gurney and bring her to my car. I'll have a prelim for you by morning. The lion and wolf carried the body out of the house. Newsies started snapping pictures and yelling questions. The enforcer kept them from coming too close. Once the gurney was in Jaxka's car, Marlot went to the officer in charge, a female hyena. We're done here. Have all the locks code been changed? And are the unused doors sealed? The officer gulped and nodded. Good. You're clear to catalog the content. When you're done, seal the house and pad me the codes. He joined Trembor and led him to where he was parked. Do you think her contracted lover would have killed her out of jealousy? Eva looked at the house before answering. She was a VP. Do you really think she would contract with someone outside her class? That male would have been able to pay the tax on her death. Don't care why he'd kill her. He wouldn't have risked the legal trouble not paying would bring, even if he wasn't planning on eating her. Marlot nodded. He unlocked the car and sat behind the wheel. Trembor sat on the passenger side and placed a hand on the wolf's thigh as soon as he closed the door. Marlot placed his hand over the lion's and squeezed it once before moving it back to Trembor's lap. Someone might see, he said, looking ahead. Trembor shook his head in amusement. No one cares, Marlot. We're our eyes. Even if they did, you really think anyone would want to mess with us? Marlot shrugged and started the car. Let's just go, okay? This concludes Chapter 2 of A Wasteful Death. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to read the book, as well as the other in the series, they are available on all major e-retailers. If you want to support me, that's on my Patreon, where you can get access to basically everything I've written. And if you want to listen to me do these live, it's on Twitch every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. The links are in the notes. And with that, I shall wish you a good day.